question 6 asks us to add in some validation to our program, because at the moment we check that a move is legal in terms of we check a piece is moving the correct number of spaces and we check it's moving in the right direction. But what we don't ever check is actually, are we moving something off the edges of the board? And if you think about it, we do need to check that. At the moment, that makes the program crash. And obviously what you want is a program that's not going to crash and is just going to simply give an error message to the user. Now I'm going to show you a way that I saw somebody tackle this question the other day, and then we're going to talk about why that's actually not really a satisfactory way of doing it and look at a better way. So this is one way that you might think straight away of going about it, because it's probably the easiest way. And you've got start square and finish square that have been entered by the user. I'm writing validate as a function because it's going to need to return a value to the main program. It's going to need to return a value, either yes it's valid or no it's not, so true or false, a boolean value. Okay. And here's, how on the face of it you might think, well, I just need to check that is the start square less than 11, because obviously the lowest valid coordinate is 1, 1. Okay, so 11 in terms of our integer variable, and I've just remembered that I have to specify that these are integers in the function declaration there. So in terms of my coordinates, if it's anything less, if it's got a 0, that's not going to work because my board numbering starts at 1. So we could just check that the start square isn't less than 11, or start square obviously can't be greater than, the highest coordinate which is possible is 8, 8. So it can't be higher than that. And neither can finish square. Finish square is obviously it's on the same board. It's got the same same requirements, doesn't it? So these are the things we need to check for, you could say. And if any of these things are true, then validate becomes false. If those things are true, then you haven't entered a valid square on the board, and validate's going to return false. Oh, don't need that because I'm going to have an else. As long as none of those things happen, then we can say yes, it's on the board. We're fine to continue. Now, those of you who are really switched on and really thinking about this might have already spotted the problem. If we're comparing these values with the number 88, can you think of a situation in which that's actually not going to be what we want to do? Yeah, when we've got a board dimension set to a value other than 8. Remember, that constant board dimension may not always be 8, and they may well ask you to change that in the exam, in which case this is no longer going to work. So, nice try, but not quite good enough. What we actually need to do, instead of passing the start square and finish square as parameters, is we need to send the individual ranks and files, and it does mean it's more parameters, and it does mean it's a longer if statement, but we're just going to have to live with it. So I'm just going to go through the basic structure of this routine can stay the same. I'm just going to replace it all as we've just discussed. So start rank, start file, finish rank, finish file. Again, they're all integers, but we've just got more checks to do. It gets a bit tedious and it's easy to miss some. And I also spotted people the other day trying to copy and paste and then forgetting to change the values. So you do need to have your wits about you, so I might just go quiet whilst I do this. Oh, sorry, I'm saying less than 0, I'm meaning, of course, less than 1. I did say it was easy to make mistakes. Who knows, these might be the same types of mistakes that you come up against in the exam as well. And you might be a bit nervous, you're under time conditions, it's easy to do this, but you need to definitely have your wits about you. So I think I was nearly finished. Finish rank. we go. Okay. So then if any of the individual start file, finish file, etc. are less than 1 or greater than the board dimension, and do make sure you put in board dimension rather than 8, otherwise you haven't done yourselves any favours in flexibility, then we'll return false for validate, otherwise we'll return true. Then we need to remember to call validate from the main program, and we're told to do it before that we check whether a move is legal, because if you're going off the board, then it's not a valid move. There's no point checking whether it's a valid move for that particular piece. It's not a valid move for anything to go off the board. So we'll check that first, and we'll say that if validate, now remember validate takes some parameters, so we need to check which parameters it takes and in which order. Okay, I'm just going to be a little bit lazy and copy, paste those. So if validate for all of those values returns true, then we will do this check whether the move is legal. But if it doesn't return true, if it returns false, saying it's not a valid move, it's going to go off the edge of the board, we don't even need to bother checking if it's a legal move for that piece. Okay. So if I just test that out by running it, let's say I try and move that white Gigster gear from 8.1 to 96. It tells us it's not a legal move. Okay, it hasn't crashed, it's just told us it's not a legal move and it's prompted me to try again. So that seems to be working the way I want it.